Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to a new video. We're in the studio, we're not in the apartment anymore. I don't know if this is gonna be like the official setup yet. I'm still trying to figure things out, still trying to figure out angles. We're here to talk about the video today. I don't know what I'm gonna name the video necessarily, but I am gonna try to show you how I personally would record. This can be applied to any genre of music. Like let's just say for instance, like Lil Baby, Lil Uzi. Heavy auto-tune, right? Young Thug, heavy auto-tune, very specific auto-tune settings. But the only difference I would say with this versus if you're recording, I don't know, like a band or something, I'm still using these techniques the same. The only difference is maybe the choice of effects, which we'll talk about, and autotune. That's it. Not to say that I don't ever use autotune while recording, like on the way in, but because we are trying to make a little fun video and I'm gonna try to record something live, we're gonna use autotune, like maxed out, drenched auto tune, trying to catch a vibe, you know what I'm saying? For the culture, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, other than that, I would say like these techniques can be applied to any genre of music. Like I said, the only difference is that we're just using heavy auto tune, which would make it sound more hip hop rap, in my opinion. But yeah, another thing too is that I am using stuff from my template. If you haven't seen my template video, I would highly suggest going to go check that out. My template officially went up for sale last week. I appreciate everybody that bought my template. So if you do have my template and you're watching this video, this sort of recording section will look super familiar. So yeah, just trying to utilize it. I mean, I'm not gonna sell you a product that you know, I'm not personally using, and also you get to see in real time how I would personally use this. So hopefully this makes sense. It might look a little different. Maybe I move some things around or whatever, but generally the routing and all that stuff is exactly the same. Like I said, I made this little beat. I was just cooking up, and I was like, you know what? Let me try to record some vocals on it. Let me make a video out of it and stuff like that. So that's what we're doing today. The first thing you can see is that we have this DSP record track, which I'm not going to go into in depth. I'm going to try to keep it going. I don't want to make this video long. Basically, like the front face is essentially, it's like a digital console. You can think of UAD. It's just where I'm going to be doing all my processing. Working this way because I am using an Avid interface back there. I do have access to DSP, aka HDX, so that allows me to monitor through plugins in real time. The only difference is that the actual plugins won't be printed on there typically, but because I have kind of tricked the system, not really, but just understanding routing and how Pro Tools works, I'm able to process these in real time and not only monitor through them, but record through them like if they were real pieces of gear. Or like I said, if you are familiar with UAD, this workflow might feel and look a little similar. My first plugin on it is just this basic EQ. You can see I'm doing a little bit of filtering because like I said, this is where my microphone is being hit first. That means that these two plugins, which I have the LA2A and probably a little bit jump in volume, and I have this EQ, which is Avid's, or aka it's Pro Tools stock EQ. And I'm actually going to take this out just because I want to play it safe. I don't want to, potentially ruin my vocals because like I said, we are processing through these. So when I hit play, all this processing will be on there and I can demonstrate that for you. So yeah, first plugin is just an EQ, basic EQ that works, sounds good, super clean, no coloration, just using it for filtering any extra. If I could flip my camera around, I'm literally looking out into Chicago right now. So yeah, there's a lot of traffic and stuff out there. So maybe the mic's picking it up or whatever, but hopefully maybe this is allowing me to eliminate that a little bit. And then after that, I'm using the Teletronics silver compressor specifically. I just like this one for vocals. I like the gray one. I have the gray one in my template. I think I use it for bass specifically. I just think the tone is a little bit different. To me, this has a little bit more saturation or a little bit of distortion when you hit it a little bit harder compared to the gray. I think the silver, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure the silver is technically older than the gray one. But yeah, so I use this specifically for vocals. Any LA2A will work, any compressor will work. But like I said, because I am using this recording section of my template, these are the two plugins I use. So after that, we have our actual recording gear, let's call it, our digital gear. So this is, like I said, this is the stuff that's actually going to be processed on the vocal, and I'll demonstrate that in real time for you in a second. And then after that, my DSP record track is routed to this actual record track, which if you're familiar with, if you record a lot and you do it, you know, at your studio or with clients and stuff, you're probably familiar working this way. Essentially, because my DSP record track is being routed to this actual record track, so where the recording is going to be done. So if I hit Command Space, mic check, testing 1 2 1 2 1 2. You zoom out a little bit. You can see that's where the actual recording is going to be done. So essentially, quickly, I'll show you why most people work this way. Is I hit Command C, or you can drag it. I like to hit Command C. I like to make a copy of it because I like the original to stay in its playlist. I think it's super important to have playlist and just playlist everything, in my opinion. So Command C, we're going to use the semicolon. I believe that's the name of it. So right underneath the P. If you hit P, it goes up. If you hit the semicolon, it goes down. An easy way for me to remember that quick key is P. The letter P is an up, so it reminds me that we're going up and down. So Command copy, down, and we're bringing it down to our actual playback track where we're going to actually do all the mixing and stuff like that. And I'll show you a quick way on how you could possibly work a little bit quicker and not be, you know, messing around while you're recording and making sure that you're paying attention to the band or artist or whatever and getting good takes. So that's how that works. So go through it again. DSP track is where the actual processing is going to be done, and our record track is where the recording is going to be done, where we're capturing the audio, and then going to bring that down into our actual lead tracks, specifically how my template is set up because we're doing vocals today. We can see that we have some plugins on our record track before we move forward. And you can see, I'll point out quickly, the first three are pretty similar for the most part. I have Auto-Tune, which I'm using this on my record track and not my DSP record track because I don't want to print Auto-Tune. There's nothing wrong with printing Auto-Tune. Sometimes I do print Auto-Tune just because if I know the budget isn't there for a whole lot of time for mixing or whatever the case is, you just got to make sure you're super comfortable with recording and tuning and stuff, and that knowing that if you need to fix something or adjust something, you can go back and do that post. I'm assuming that we're recording a modern hip hop, rap, trap, whatever. So Auto-Tune is, you know, in my opinion, I always tell people Auto-Tune has become like reverb and delay. It's a super necessary effect specifically for that genre. So we're using it super heavy, so I'm going to turn it on. Yo, mic check, testing 1 2 template. So that is, yeah, retune is at 0. This looks a little bit older because I'm specifically using Auto-Tune Hybrid, which allows me to record through Auto-Tune with no latency, near to 0 latency. I'll say that because we're using our Avid Carbon back there. This is a collaboration, just like how UAD has its own version of Auto-Tune. It's exactly the same. So yeah, first instance is Auto-Tune. I'm gonna, just so it doesn't get annoying, I'm gonna bypass it. And then the second plugin is this BX console. You can hear there's definitely a huge change in compression, more filtering, and a lot of EQ. You don't necessarily need to do this. Maybe this is something I left over while setting up this video. But if you want to do something quick, it depends on the client. It depends on the vibe. Most of the time, I do find this with very like professional, or not, I want to say professional. Everybody's professional what they do when it comes to being an artist. But somebody that's working at a much higher level, a lot of money on the line, a lot of whatever the case is, you know. So basically, we're just talking about, you know, A-lister artists. At the end of the day, most likely, if you're recording, you might get lucky and they might use your mix. Most of the time, they have their own mixers. They're just maybe in town. You happen to be the engineer on the session or whatever. They're looking for an engineer. So somebody else is going to mix it. You're not going to mix it. So I would say most of the time when I was in those scenarios, when I still am in those scenarios, I want it to sound as mixed as possible. I want it to sound as close as possible to what they would sound like when their music is on the radio. If you're not comfortable with this, if you're just recording, you know, local bands, whatever, and I'm not saying you should treat anybody different, but I'm just saying that just be confident about it. Don't do a whole lot of routing. Don't do a whole lot of crazy stuff with your plugins. Just do subtle things. For instance, like if I want to set a vibe and I'm just like, oh, I want to make sure, maybe make my mic sound a little bit more expensive than it is, something like a C800. Maybe I wouldn't go this high, but, you know, add a little bit of sizzle to the top. Maybe if they're a little bit deeper voice, whatever the case is, Maybe we'll take some of this boominess out. And I guess I should also mention is this is something I would do during the setting level phase. So if I was like, if I told the artist like, hey, okay, I'm ready to go. The only thing we need to do is set some levels. So let's set some levels, right? So let me default this. Let me do this, and let's just assume, like I said, the auto tune is necessary. Let's say it's like, I don't know, Uzi or something. I've been in the room with as an assistant a couple times with Uzi, so I know, from at least from my understanding, and obviously from what I can hear, his auto tune's maxed out. Just depends on the key of the song and all that stuff where you're gonna make those minor adjustments. But generally, his auto tune is pretty cranked, at least from what I can remember. So let's just say we told the artist like, hey, everything's good to go. I just need to get some levels real quick, and then we can start actually recording. So, boom. So let's say, whatever. This is my template. So let's say we want a little bit more sizzle. This is my template. Mic check. Testing 1, 2. Like I said, we're going for a more finished vocal. So don't be like too scared, but don't do anything stupid. You know what I mean? So, mic check. Testing 1, 2. Get some of this boominess out. You can hear. Mic check. Testing 1, 2. Maybe go a little bit heavy on the compression. Go a little 4 to 1. That's what I would do. Mic check, testing 1, 2. Maybe open or slow down the release a little bit. Mic check, testing 1, 2. And then also, besides doing the post, we got to make sure that we're taking care of our LA2A up here because we are recording with this on the way in. So if we are setting gear, or in this case, if we're working with the in-the-box processing, I'll show you in real time how this is actually being printed on. So if I start raising the gain, we're hearing that my vocals are getting louder, but we're also seeing that the waveform is being affected. If I start bringing it down, you hear that I'm starting to disappear a little bit, and you can see in the vocal it's starting to go away. So yeah, just a little quick. That's something I would do. Obviously, I just did it a little bit backwards. Let me take this out just in case it's too loud for the video. But yeah, this is pretty much what I would do. For the recording part. Like I said, I just did it a little bit backwards because I was focused on this section. But generally, let's just assume we're working with real gear, or this way within my template, which is most of the time I'm working in the box. If I'm here at the studio, because I haven't set up any hardware gear and or anything like that. So I've just been recording in the box. I've been having a lot of fun with it, just moving quickly, doing a lot of songwriting stuff. So. But, you know, if I was at a different studio or someone else's studio and they had actual LA2A or whatever, then obviously, you know, I would need to adjust this first. But like I said, it's just a general idea. Obviously, I wouldn't do these exact moves. Don't copy these and assume that it's going to work everywhere. But just a general idea of, like, how I'm thinking as I'm moving. Obviously, there's a lot more pressure in sessions. Even if it's just a chill session, you're still, you know, want to make sure that you're getting everything done correctly. So don't do anything crazy, but just a general idea where my headspace is and where I'm going. And at the end of the day, it all depends. Maybe artists are okay with it not sounding super polished, because there are the rare instances where you start boosting and cutting, and then people are like, why does my voice keep changing or whatever, and that kind of throws them off. And in my opinion, it's always easier to try to not explain the technical stuff unless it's being asked. The last thing you want to do is nerd out about something that they really don't care about. Because they just don't care. They just want to get everything recorded. So, and then the next thing, like I said, because we're monitoring, we're not printing anything, I'd put some sort of de-esser. You could probably hear that I was getting a little sizzly as I was boosting. So mic check, testing 1, 2. So let's just say we got our vocals. The artist is cool with it. The band's cool with it, whatever the case is. Then next we want to do is, you also have to like assume that you know what their music sounds like. Maybe they like a lot of reverb. Maybe all their music has a lot of reverb. You obviously want to get a general idea of what they sound like. Let me take this de-esser out. Yeah, you want to get a general idea of what they sound like, but you don't want to go just start adding a bunch of effects because that's what you think they would like, or that's what you like. At the end of the day, you still kind of want to ask questions like, oh, hey, like I would be like, usually I'm just like, do you like a little bit of reverb when you record? I'm going to add a little bit of delay. Let me know if it's too much, if it's too distracting, whatever the case is. Those are generally how I, set up those questions as we're kind of just getting stuff together. I'm not waiting till last minute till we're about to hit record. Like, just as he or she or the band is getting ready in the booth or the drum room, whatever the case is, and getting headphone mixes, I'm just making sure that I'm just asking these questions kind of generally and casually as I'm going through the session. I'm going to do this mono delay. I like to set up this mono delay because to me, that's how you get a little bit more forwardness, aka depth in there. At the end of the day, you're just trying to trick the listener. You're trying to trick your ears into thinking there's something happening when in reality it's just basic delay, reverbs, whatever the case is. That's just the way that I think about it. It's just like mixers are magicians, in my opinion. So mono delay, obviously it's mono, so it's going to sound a little bit more forward. We're going to get it to taste. Mic check, testing 1, 2. Maybe something like that to get started. The next one is a slap, so we're going to get like more of a ping pong effect. That's just how I have my delay set up. Like I said, if you want these exact effects and presets, my template is for sale. $20. After March, it's going to go up to $100. So get it while you can. You can hear mic, or you can hear left and right? Mic check. Same thing. Super subtle. You don't want anything crazy. These aren't going to be the final effects. This is more of a depth thing. Unless it is something like where like it's cool to have the slap. It's an intentional effect, then maybe do that. But for this case, you just want to make the effects subtle. You know, as the mixer, it's going to make a difference in the song, but you also just want to stay out of the way and not kill their vibe. And then we have this quarter note delay. This would be more of the effect. So mic check. Yo. So I like all my stuff so you can hear if I go, yo. See how it's just like cool little effect, adding some depth. We're still getting that forwardness and stuff. Because we're soloed, obviously it's going to sound a little bit more drastic than it will in the track, but these are just small little things that I like to do that I think can make vocals a little bit more interesting, sound a little bit more full. I'm not the only person that does this. You know, these are tips and tricks that I've gotten from mixers that I've watched on YouTube over the years, Mix with the Masters, or just assisted for as an assistant at a recording studio or whatever the case is. And then same thing with half, just pushing vocals out a little bit more. Just trying to let you hear these reverbs. So mic check. Just try, yeah. So just want you to hear hopefully what I'm hearing. And then after that we have a Bricasti. I like to record with the Bricasti. I don't know why I'm having trouble saying that. You know what I'm trying to say. AKA this is the Seventh Heaven plugin. I like to record with this, mostly mix with it too, or it's either the EMT, whether it's the UAD. I personally use the Arturio one. I think it sounds good. So same thing. Find your good preset. Find a good preset. Find a standard preset. Don't do something too crazy right off the bat, especially when you're tracking. As the session goes, obviously these are things you can adjust. The artist is going to ask for more or less. So that's what I'm saying. Just do everything small and then slowly adjust as you're recording to the session. I have this Dim D, which is more depth, so you can hear. Mic check, testing 1, 2. Super subtle. This is an effect that can mess with an artist's timing and stuff like that, so make sure you're not adding too much of this. And then the same thing, I have a doubler, so you can use any doubler, any Dimension D, just adding more width to the vocals. And another thing, you just want to do super subtle. And yeah, so that's generally how I would set up effects. Let me mute these because I just don't want to get too distracting. Yeah, that's generally how I would set up any sort of effects or anything like that. Obviously, this is something that you would be doing as you're recording. Everybody's moving quickly, you're moving quickly, or a little bit quicker, I would say. It just depends on the session. So I'm copying the same exact auto-tune. The last thing you want to do is start bringing down tracks and have a completely different auto-tune setting. So make sure before you hit record and you know you're going to use auto-tune, go ahead and copy as many instances as you need. You still want it to sound the same on playback and whatever the case is. Auto-tune, same auto-tune down here. Go ahead and copy your first plugin. I'm using the BX channel strip, so I'm copying that down here. I do have this a little bit backwards because I am using slightly different plugins, just because I guess I should have mentioned this at the beginning. The reason I use this specific 9000 by Plugin Alliance, SSL, is because they offer DSP. So you can see it says native up here, but once I hit record and stuff, this would actually switch to DSP mode, and that allows me to monitor through it. I have the UAD version down here of the SSL E. Obviously it's UAD, so it's not DSP compatible with Avid's DSP specifically. It's a native plugin. But yeah, same thing. I would just go through and copy all these same settings as I'm going through the session. You can see I have a few little extra goodies. I might not even throw these on until I'm trying to get like a rough mix, whether it's the end of the session or whatever the case is. At the end of the day, it's whatever you feel comfortable with. Don't just start engaging all these plugins as you're going. Just get 3 solid plugins like I have. I just have a basic channel strip and a de-esser and obviously auto-tune if needed. some basic effects, and yeah, just get super familiar with them, set them up quickly, copy and paste and stuff like that. Don't do anything too crazy. Because, yes, like I mentioned, you do want to get more close to a finished sound as much as possible, in my opinion. Don't make it so technically hard where your levels and you're clicking around. If you're recording in, the control room with the artist, the last thing you want to do is try to figure out how to get a click out of the main or out of the vocal when you're mixing and whatever the case is. So, like I said, just be super smart about it. Don't do too much. I get it. I don't want to say that my routing is simple. Maybe for somebody that is like in it and super understanding of routing and all that, this might actually be a lot simpler than somebody who is not as seasoned. I didn't go through every single plugin because all these plugins don't come on until mixing. Like I said, the main thing I just wanted to talk about is my actual recording process and kind of take you into a world on how I like to record. Like I said, everybody works different. This is the way that I like to work. It might be slightly different because, like I said, there's no pressure. I'm just making a YouTube video. I might not even do any EQ on the actual channel strip because maybe my microphone's bright enough. Maybe my microphone isn't as thick enough in the low end, so I'm actually adding low end. Whatever the case is, all these different scenarios and things will play into what you're doing in Pro Tools or whatever DAW you're using. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's just more about the mindset and making sure that you have an actual template that makes sense for you. If this is something you're interested, like I said, a couple of these plugin companies I have, deals with, you can go to my website. I revamped my website, so even if you're not trying to buy any of my template, I would just appreciate if you just checked out my work and stuff because, yeah, you get to know a little bit more about me as my YouTube channel and people start to follow me on Instagram and ask more questions or whatever the case is. That's probably a better way of getting to know my background and all the stuff that I've worked on, and I'm always trying to update my website. So, yeah, like I said, go get some plugins. If you don't have any of these plugins, I might have a deal, partnership, discount with them or whatever. It would help me a lot. And like I said, I appreciate everybody that bought a template. If it is something that you want to purchase or you're interested about, like I said, right now it's $20. It's just another way to support me and support my studio that I'm trying to, get going and stuff. And obviously I can film a little bit more better videos for you guys and hopefully put out better content and stuff like that. If there isn't something that wasn't clear, let me know in the comments. Maybe I can do a follow-up video or I can answer it in the comments below. Follow me on Instagram. I would love, I'm trying to use Instagram a lot more, so follow me on there. I'll follow you back on Instagram and stuff. I've been following anybody that's mentioned they followed me from YouTube or just generally. I just been trying to follow people back. And yeah, if there's any other videos that you want to see from me that you have questions on or curious on how I work, whatever the case is, even if it's just like gear, anything like that, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I appreciate you stopping by. Peace.